समस्त लोक सुखिनो भवन्तु।
समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु।
समस्त लोक सुखिनो भवन्तु।
समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु।
समस्त लोक सुखिनो भवन्तु।
समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु।
शांति शांति शांति।
तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
नमामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत शृण्वन्नोतिभिस्सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती दीनामवित्रयवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम्। ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय ॐ नमस्ते रुद्रमन्यवमुतोर्दैशवे नमः नमस्ते अस्तु धन्वने बाहुभ्यामुदते नमः या तैषु शिवतमा शिवं बभूवते तनुः शिवा शरव्याया तव तया नो रुद्रमृडया या ते रुद्रशिवा तनूरघोरा पापकाशिनी तया नस्तनुभाषन्तमया गिरिशं ताभिजागशीः यामिषुं गिरिशन्तहस्ते विभक्ष्यस्तवे शिवां गिरित्रतां कुरु माहि पुंसि पुरुषं जगत् शिवेन वचसा वागिरिशाच्चावदामसि यदा नः सर्वमिज्जगदयक्ष्मगुं सुमना असत् अद्य वोचदति भक्ता प्रथमो नैव्योऽभिषत् अहीतुश्च सर्वान् जम्बयन् सर्वाश्च यातु नान्यः असौ यस्ताम्रो अरुण उत बभ्रुः सुमङ्गलः ये चेमागुं रुद्रा अवितो दिक्षु श्रुताः सहस्रशो वैशाखुं हेडयीमहे असौ योपसर्पति नीलग्रीवो विलोहितः उतैनं गोपा अदृशन्नदृशन्नुदहार्यः उतैनं विश्वा भूतानि स दृष्टो मृडयादिनः नमो अस्तु नीलग्रीवाय सहस्राक्षाय मीडुषे अतो ये अस्य सत्त्वानोऽहं तेभ्यो करन्नमः प्रमुञ्चदन्वनस्त्वमुभयोराग्नियोज्या याश्च ते हस्तैषवः पराता भगवो वपा अवतत्यदनुस्त्वगुं सहस्रांशशतेषु ते निशीर्य शल्यानां शिवो नः सुमना भवा विज्यं दनुःखपर्दिनो विशल्यो मानवागुम्भुता अनेशन्नस्येषव आमुरस्य निशङ्गतिः या ते हेतिर्मीदुष्टमहस्ते बभूवते गनुः तयास्मान् विश्वतस्त्वमयक्ष्मया परिभुजा नमस्ते अस्त्वायुधायानादकाय कृष्णवे उवाभ्यामुदते नमो बाहुभ्यां तव धन्वने परिते धन्वनो हेतिरस्मान् वृणक्तु विश्वतः अतो य इषुधिस्तवारे अस्मन्निदेहितम् नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय मृत्युञ्जयाय जयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। 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 शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
गणनाथ गजानन लंबोदरा गणनाथ गजानन लंबोदरा गणनाथ गजानन लंबोदरा गणनाथ गजानन पार्वती नंदन त्रेता में सीता राम बने, त्रेता में सीता राम बने, द्वापर में राधे श्याम बने, द्वापर में राधे श्याम बने, कलयुग में साई नाम लिए, कलयुग में साई नाम लिए, साई नाम लिए, सर्वा 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 नाम लिए, गोविंद हरे गोपाल हरे। दीनानाथा शंकरा, दीनानाथा शंकरा, दीनानाथा शंकरा, दीनानाथा शंकरा, करुणा सागर शंकरा, करुणा सागर शंकरा, करुणा सागर शंकरा, करुणा सागर शंकरा, पतिपुरीश्वर शंकरा, पतिपुरीश्वर शंकरा, पतिपुरीश्वर शंकरा, भोलानाथा कैलासवासा, भोलानाथा कैलासवासा, भोलानाथा कैलासवासा, भोलानाथा कैलासवासा, पतिपुरीश्वर हे परमेश्वर, पतिपुरीश्वर हे परमेश्वर, पतिपुरीश्वर हे परमेश्वर, पतिपुरीश्वर हे परमेश्वर, साईश्वर देवा, साईश्वर देवा, साईश्वर देवा, दीनानाथा शंकरा, दीनानाथा शंकरा, करुणा सागर शंकरा, करुणा Krishna Krishna Yaduvara Krishna 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 Yaduvara Krishna 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 Yaduvara Krishna Krishna Yaduvara Krishna Murahara Keshava Yadava Madhava Murahara Keshava Yadava Madhava Murahara Keshava Yadava Madhava Murahara Keshava Yadava Madhava Krishna Krishna Yaduvara Krishna Krishna Yaduvara Krishna Murali Manohara Krishna Murali Murali Manohara Krishna Murali Murali Manohara Krishna Murali Murali Manohara Krishna Murali Krishna Murali Shama Murali Krishna Murali Shama Murali Krishna Murali Shama Murali Krishna Murali Shama Murali Murahara Keshava Yadava Madhava Murahara Keshava Yadava Madhava Murahara Keshava Yadava Madhava Murahara Keshava Yadava Madhava Krishna Krishna Yaduvara Krishna 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 Yaduvara Krishna Murahara Keshava Yadava Madhava Murahara Keshava Yadava Madhava Krishna Krishna Yaduvara Krishna 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 Yaduvara Krishna Murali Manohara Krishna Murali Murali Manohara Krishna Murali Krishna Murali Shama Murali Krishna Murali Shama Murali Murahara Keshava Yadava Madhava Murahara Keshava Yadava Madhava Murahara Keshava Yadava Madhava Murahara Keshava Yadava Madhava Krishna Krishna Yaduvara Krishna Sarvadharma Swarupa Sai Sarvadharma Swarupa Sai Sarvadharma Swarupa Sai Sarvadharma Swarupa Sai Parti ke avatara Parti ke avatara Parti ke avatara Parti ke avatara Mere Baba mere Sai Mere Baba mere Sai Mere Baba mere Sai Mere Baba देखते हैं तेरे द्वारे, साईं राम 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 सर्व धर्म स्वरूपा साई। जय जय देवी गिरिजा माता, जय देवी गिरिजा माता, जय जय देवी गिरिजा माता, जय देवी गिरिजा माता, जय जगदम्बे प्रणव स्वरूपिणी, जय जगदम्बे प्रणव स्वरूपिणी, जय जगदम्बे प्रणव स्वरूपिणी, जय जगदम्बे प्रणव स्वरूपिणी, अष्टभुजा गीता अखिलाधारिणी, अष्टभुजा गीता अखिलाधारिणी, अष्टभुजा गीता अखिलाधारिणी, अष्टभुजा गीता अखिलाधारिणी, जय योगीश्वर हृदय निवासिनी, जय योगीश्वर हृदय निवासिनी, जय योगीश्वर हृदय निवासिनी, जय योगीश्वर हृदय निवासिनी, जय जय देवी गिरिजा माता, जय देवी गिरिजा माता, जय जगदम्बे प्रणव स्वरूपिणी, जय जगदम्बे प्रणव स्वरूपिणी, अष्टभुजा गीता अखिलाधारिणी, अष्टभुजा गीता अखिलाधारिणी, जय योगीश्वर हृदय निवासिनी, जय योगीश्वर हृदय निवासिनी, जय योगीश्वर हृदय निवासिनी, जय योगीश्वर हृदय निवासिनी, जय जय देवी गिरिजा माता। श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम, 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 श्री राम जय राम सुंदर नामा, श्री राम जय राम जय राम सुंदर नामा श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम श्री राम जय राम मंगल नामा श्री राम जय राम मंगल नामा श्री राम जय राम आत्मा राम श्री राम जय राम आत्मा राम श्री राम जय राम सीता राम श्री राम जय राम सीता राम श्री राम जय राम साई 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 राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम भज रे मनवा सद्गुरुदेवा भज रे मनवा सद्गुरुदेवा भज रे मनवा सद्गुरुदेवा भज रे मनवा सद्गुरुदेवा परम कृपालु साई महादेवा परम कृपालु साई महादेवा परम कृपालु साई महादेवा परम कृपालु साई महादेवा भज रे मनवा सद्गुरुदेवा भज रे मनवा सद्गुरुदेवा इस दिन ध्यान करूं मैं तेरा 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 जन्म जन्म का मिटे अंधेरा 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 पर ब्रह्म परमेश्वर रूपा ब्रह्म परमेश्वर रूपा पर ब्रह्म परमेश्वर देवा ब्रह्म परमेश्वर देवा परम कृपालु साई महादेवा परम कृपालु साई महादेवा परम कृपालु साई महादेवा परम कृपालु साई महादेवा भज रे मनवा सद्गुरुदेवा भज रे मनवा सद्गुरुदेवा परम कृपालु साई महादेवा परम कृपालु साई महादेवा इस दिन ध्यान करूं मैं तेरा इस दिन ध्यान करूं मैं तेरा जन्म जन्म का मिटे अंधेरा जन्म जन्म का मिटे अंधेरा पर ब्रह्म परमेश्वर रूपा ब्रह्म परमेश्वर रूपा पर ब्रह्म परमेश्वर देवा ब्रह्म परमेश्वर देवा परम कृपालु साई महादेवा परम कृपालु साई महादेवा परम कृपालु साई महादेवा परम कृपालु साई महादेवा सब भक्तों के मन को भाता, सब भक्तों के मन को भाता, पार उतारो नैया मोरी, पार उतारो नैया मोरी, पार उतारो नैया मोरी, पार उतारो नैया मोरी। साई घन श्यामा, साई घन श्यामा, साई घन श्यामा, साई घन श्यामा। ओ भगवान, अरज सुनो मेरे साई भगवान, ओ भगवान, पतिपुरी के तुम हो दाता, तुम हो दाता, वृंदावन के तुम हो दाता, वृंदावन के तुम हो दाता, सब भक्तों के मन को भाता, भक्तों के मन को भाता, पार उतारो नैया मोरी, पार उतारो नैया मोरी। साई घन श्यामा, 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 ओ भगवान, ओ भगवान, अरज सुनो मेरे साई भगवान। मनमोहना कृष्णा कुंज विहारी, मनमोहना कृष्णा कुंज विहारी, मनमोहना कृष्णा कुंज विहारी, मनमोहना कृष्णा कुंज विहारी। यादवा माधव रंगा विठल मुरारी, यादवा माधव रंगा विठल मुरारी, यादवा माधव रंगा विठल मुरारी, माधव रंगा विठल मुरारी। मनमोहना कृष्णा कुंज विहारी, मनमोहना कृष्णा कुंज विहारी। घनश्याम सुंदरा हे गिरिधारी, घनश्याम सुंदरा हे गिरिधारी, घनश्याम सुंदरा हे गिरिधारी, घनश्याम सुंदरा हे गिरिधारी। यादवा माधव रंगा विठल मुरारी, यादवा माधव रंगा विठल मुरारी, यादवा माधव रंगा विठल मुरारी, यादवा माधव रंगा विठल मुरारी। मनमोहना कृष्णा कुंज विहारी, मनमोहना कृष्णा कुंज विहारी। यादवा माधव रंगा विठल मुरारी, मनमोहना महादेव गौरी वन्दना नीलकण्ठ महादेव गौरी वन्दना नीलकण्ठ महादेव गौरी वन्दना नीलकण्ठ महादेव गौरी वन्दना चन्द्रचूडदयानाथ नन्दिवाहना चूडदयानाथ नन्दिवाहना चन्द्रचूडदयानाथ नन्दिवाहना साम्ब शिव शूलधारि नागभूषणा साम्ब शिव शूलधारि नागभूषणा साम्ब शिव शूलधारि नागभूषणा साम्ब शिव शूलधारि नागभूषणा हालनेत्र उमाकान्त परम पावना हालनेत्र उमाकान्त परम पावना हालनेत्र उमाकान्त परम पावना हालनेत्र उमाकान्त परम पावना नीलकण्ठ महादेव गौरी वन्दना नीलकण्ठ महादेव गौरी वन्दना चन्द्रचूडदयानाथ नन्दिवाहना चन्द्रचूडदयानाथ नन्दिवाहना साम्ब शिव शूलधारि नागभूषणा साम्ब शिव शूलधारि नागभूषणा हालनेत्र उमाकान्त परम पावना हालनेत्र उमाकान्त परम पावना हालनेत्र उमाकान्त परम पावना हालनेत्र उमाकान्त परम पावना नीलकण्ठ महादेव गौरी वन्दना शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Offering my most loving pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. Dear listeners, I welcome you to this week's episode of the Gita series. Last week we were in the middle of a portion which was very interesting. We were going through that part where Krishna speaks about how we are our own friend in this path and we turn out to be our own enemy. And in the 6th verse that we went through last week, that was the first verse that we covered, Krishna very clearly explains in what state of mind or what state of being is when one becomes one's own friend and in what state one becomes one's own enemy. He says, Bandhuhu atma atmanah tasya Yena atma eva atmana jitaha. The self is the friend of the self, for he who has conquered the self with the self. As we've been going through the past couple of weeks, the word atma has different meanings. Here it doesn't refer to the absolute pure self that we really are, but it means the body-mind complex, the personality. And when Krishna says Atma eva atmana jitaha, it means one has to conquer oneself one has to take control over one's life, one's body and one's senses. Then he goes on to say, Atmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. But one of unconquered self, anatma, the one of unconquered self, the self itself remains in a state of enmity like an external enemy. So the friend and the foe is not one who is outside, but one is one's own benefactor on this path to the goal. One is one's own nemesis in this path. And that's one of the most beautiful lessons that Krishna has conveyed in this part of the Bhagavad Gita. And so the 6th verse is a very important one, where Krishna explains when one becomes one's friend, when one becomes one's enemy in this path. Krishna clearly states that self-mastery is the key through all of what he has said now. And as we discussed the last time, the first thing a sadhaka must do is to have a purpose in life. And the second thing is to proceed towards that purpose. And when one leads life, one cannot drift with the waves of life. And that is possible only when one gains some sort of control over oneself. We discussed that analogy in quite a bit of detail. We all are like those people who are lost in the sea. We are on a boat, we are on a sailing boat. If I manage to reach the shore, it only means that I have mastered the art of sailing and I have reached the shore. If I haven't, it only means that I have not mastered the art of sailing and I have gone adrift. Right? And that is how one is responsible for one's own redemption. One is responsible for one's own one being lost in the path as well. In the next shloka number 7, Krishna speaks about the forbearance or titiksha that comes as a result of this control. When you go through life, when you acknowledge that there will be ups and downs, there will be moments of lows and moments of highs, you are already preparing yourself mentally to kind of put up with that situation, right? And this is not, again, something new that Krishna is saying here. He has said it in one of the earlier chapters too. And there's an overtone of that being repeated here. Krishna says a jitatma, one who has controlled oneself, will be equal-minded in shitoshna sukhadukheshu tatha manav mana apamana yoho, in heat and cold, happiness and sorrow, fame and infamy. And we also discussed the increasing difficulty of maintaining balance in these different sets of opposites. Shitoshna means heat and cold is with reference to the body. So the discomforts or the physical discomforts that we talk about is something that most of us overcome with a little bit of maturity, right? Even as the kind of things that we complained about when we were children, the kind of things that we complained about when we are teenagers, we do not complain about them now because we've matured enough to accept them as part and parcel of life, and we've learned to live with them, right? But a little more higher maturity is required when it comes to sukha and dukkha, sorrow and happiness. But lot more maturity, lot more spiritual maturity is required when it comes to mana and apamana. And we discussed why this becomes a very critical thing, because when we talk about self-control, much of the self-control that we gain through our childhood days or our education times is when we want to get a good name from others. And this is something that Swami also would often say. Get a good name for your parents, get a good name for yourself. It's something that Swami would tell every batch that graduates from Swami's college. And Swami would say, get a good name for me. Nobody should say that Swami is a student and he's behaving like this. So in an attempt to get a good name in society, you automatically begin to regulate your life. But at some point, even the attachment that we have for a good name or the aversion that we have towards getting bad remarks in society has to be given up, because even when somebody praises or even when someone is ridiculing you, all that is only a reference to the body or the mind or the personality which we really are not. And in this journey, the final lap is to overcome this idea that I am this body, I am this mind. And that is why that is something, even though it is a very effective tool in self-mastery, even that has to be given up on this journey. And that is the most difficult thing to do. That's why this is an increasing order of difficulty, and it calls for increasing order of maturity in the sadhaka to deal with it. Shitoshna sukhadukheshu tata mana apamanayoho. So that was the 7th verse, and as I said the last time, we'll spend a little more time on the 8th shloka. Even as we were discussing towards the end of last week's episode, in this shloka, Krishna starts speaking about a jnani again, or it so appears, right? The past few shlokas were about being one's own friend, being a master of oneself, having control over oneself. But there's the semblance of Krishna speaking about a jnani, or a person who has achieved complete mastery over oneself. But the interesting thing is that in the shloka he speaks of a person who is not just a vijitendriyaha, who has conquered the senses, he does use that term, but also a jnana vijnana triptatma, one who is satisfied, or who is one who has found inner completeness because of jnana and vijnana. We spoke about this compound usage, jnana and vijnana. It is not a reference merely to knowledge of the truth, knowledge of Brahman, but a practice of that truth as well. A few episodes back we had discussed about the various types of jnana. I think when we were talking about in the 3rd or 4th chapter, I might have mentioned this. Vedantic wisdom, or wisdom which the Upanishads speak about, is often referred to as paroksha jnana. If you recall, I had used this word in that time. It is not directly accessible to the simple thinking mind. Facts such as the world is unreal, the world is an illusion, it is not something that comes naturally to us. A child, if you allow the child to go to school and go through life as life is, it is not an experience one would understand oneself. Something like the fire burns. That is an experience that anybody could have. The fact that the months of November and December become very cool or very cold in certain places, that is something that you don't have to teach a child. A child that goes through a few summers will learn that summers are warm and winters are cold. But the fact that the world as we see it is an illusion, we are not this body and the mind, but we are something deeper inside. These have to be initially told to us by someone who has understood it, who has seen the truth. That's why it is referred to as paroksha jnana. Paroksha literally means as seen by someone else, not as seen by me. Right? And it's very similar to much of the scientific understandings that we all come to. Something as basic in physics like gravity. When you say that there is a gravitational force between the sun, the moon and the earth, that's not something that I naturally understand, or that's not something that if you had not taught me, I would have come to think of it myself. But I believe in it because there is someone who has applied their mind to it, someone who have readings and scientific study that backs this truth. So even though I do not know it myself, I trust the words of a learned scientist. And in the same way, when I accept the words of the scriptures, when I accept the words of the Guru, I trust that they have seen it themselves, or they have the understanding, and I kind of lean on their understanding or lean on their observation, right? So when Krishna says jnana vijnana, in that jnana stands for paroksha jnana, knowledge that is seen through an other's eye or somebody else's experience, but through a process of Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana, which is what is a phrase that is used to explain what one goes through in the spiritual path, that you listen to these spiritual truths, then you contemplate on them through a practical process as you go through life, and eventually that knowledge becomes a part of you. Nididhyasana is when it You literally make it a part of your personality. When that happens, this knowledge slowly becomes aparoksha jnana, a direct experience. It is no more paroksha. It is not something that is seen through someone else's eye. I can see it myself now. So what was paroksha jnana becomes aparoksha jnana, a direct experience. It is not merely data received from another person, but now I have experienced it myself. And this aparoksha knowledge is referred to as vijnana. So when Krishna says jnana vijnana triptatma, it could mean two things. One, either the person is a jnani, the truth has become part of one's experience, and that's why I said maybe this is a reference to a jnani. The other way of looking at it is to see this as a person, as someone who is still on the path to get there. I say this because otherwise Krishna could have just said jnana triptatma or brahma jnana triptatma, one who is self-satisfied because of the jnana or the knowledge that one possesses. Because Krishna specifically says jnana vijnana triptatma, we could say that this is a reference to a sadhaka, for whom some knowledge has become aparoksha, but still there is some knowledge which has to be internalized, but one has accepted it because the scriptures say so, or the Guru says so, or as for us, Swami says so. Let me try to explain this a little. Say Swami tells me something. He comes and tells me that don't do this particular act or don't take this particular decision in your life because these will have unpleasant consequences. So don't do it this way. When Swami tells me that, there is no way for me to verify that. Right? Unless I make the wrong decision and I see it panning out in my life, there is no way for me to verify that at that moment when Swami is giving me that instruction. But still I will accept it and probably will align my life to that instruction and information that Swami has given me. Why is that? Because I have faith in Swami's words. So when Krishna is using the word vijnana, the reference here is not only to a person of, when Krishna is using the complex word jnana and vijnana, the reference is not only to a person of wisdom, a vijnani, but it is also to a person who has faith or who has shraddha, whose knowledge is partially still based on faith. So when Krishna says jnana vijnana triptatma, one part of the knowledge has come because the knowledge has been internalized. Partially the knowledge is because of faith. Partially it is because of shraddha. And that is a very beautiful and typical description of someone on the path. A karma yogi who is experienced. Like there are some things that you can experience. What Swami says about doing your karma without any expectations. We are diffident to do that. But if we have tried it out, we all, and I'm sure all of us will vouch for this fact. If you're able to do that, there is a certain amount of peace that automatically comes with that. If you're not bothered about whether somebody's going to appreciate you, whether that's going to lead you to a promotion, you just take a job and you do it just the way it has to be done as an offering to Swami. You're not worried about anything else. The satisfaction that comes when you do like that is real, right? But for that we need to try it out. So in that manner, when we take to the path of karma yoga, some of it through experience we can understand it. Yes, this gives me more happiness. This gives me more self-satisfaction. This gives me more peace of mind. So some of it becomes aparoksha jnana, but still much of the knowledge, the goal, much of the idea that, I am not this body, I am not this mind, or, I and Swami are one. Some of these are not yet aparoksha jnana, but I take it on face value. I take it on the basis of my faith. I have complete faith on Swami, and whatever Swami says must be true. So when Swami says you and I are one, Swami, at this moment I am not able to see it, I am not able to experience it, but because you say it, I accept it. So jnana vijnana triptatma is one who draws satisfaction from what has already been internalized, the knowledge that has already been internalized, that is vijnana, and also draws satisfaction from that which has not been internalized but has been accepted on the basis of faith or on the basis of Shraddha. Then in the same shloka, Krishna uses the word Kutastaha, unshaken. And this also is a reference to what I just mentioned. One can be unshaken, Kutastha, when one has absolute knowledge. There is no doubt about that. As Swami has been saying many times, Krishna has been mentioning many times in the previous chapters, when you have absolute knowledge, there is nothing that can shake you, right? But one can also be unshaken in faith, isn't it? In fact, being unshaken is a quality of faith itself. When we were students in the university, this interaction between a student and Swami used to be shared quite a lot. I was not directly witness to this conversation, but it used to be shared. It must have happened once or even multiple times. So apparently this student or a devotee, someone had asked Swami this question, Swami, how to develop unwavering faith? Right? That's a question, answer to which we all would love to know. So this person asked Swami this question, how to develop unwavering faith? And Swami's sweet, simple and direct answer to that was, if it is wavering, it is not faith at all. So how to develop unwavering faith? If it is wavering, then it is not faith at all. There is no wavering faith and unwavering faith. So even to have faith means to be a kutastaha, unshaken and steady. That is why jnana vijnana triptatma means one who is steady, one who is a kutastaha because of vijnana, and who is also steady because of the faith that one has in the words of the scriptures or in the words of the Guru. In the second line of the shloka, Krishna mentions a quality which he goes on to speak about in the next shloka also, which needs to be seen a little carefully. Krishna says, Samaloshta ashma kanchanaha. Loshta means a clod of clay. Ashma means stone. Kanchana means gold. Samaloshta ashma kanchanaha means one who sees all these clay, stone and gold as being equal. In the next shloka, Krishna adds a few more such opposites and few more such variety. What does Krishna mean by saying we must have an equal vision towards all these items? In the ultimate sense, that samadrishti or equal vision comes with wisdom, right? When I realize that what I'm experiencing is a dream, will I rejoice being rich in it, being rich in a dream? Will I feel bad that I'm wearing fake jewelry when the person before me is wearing genuine gold? Imagine that in a dream you're wearing all imitation jewelry and there's somebody in front of you who's wearing real gold. Will I feel that mine is fake and that person is wearing genuine real gold? No, I will feel that all this is part of the dream. That quote-unquote real gold is as fake as my quote-unquote fake gold, isn't it? Because it is all in the dream and all is part of the dream and all is unreal, whether in the dream that person is wearing something which is more expensive than mine, right? So in that sense, samadrishti of course comes with that complete knowledge that all of this is unreal and all of this is just a dream. But when Krishna is speaking about that here, I feel there is also a contextual way of looking at it, which we must not miss. Because for jnana vijnana triptatma, I think this angle is also important. But we'll discuss about that after we listen to the next shloka. As I said, Krishna mentions a few more details or a few more opposites or a few more varieties in the next shloka. We'll listen to that and we'll discuss that along with what Krishna says in the second line of the shloka that we just discussed. And we'll talk about that contextual way of looking at this statement, these statements of Krishna. So this is shloka number 9 of chapter 6, as always very beautifully and clearly rendered in the voice of Brother Shyam. We'll listen to that, I'll give you a brief meaning and then we'll discuss in detail. सुहृन्मित्रार्युदासीन मध्यस्थद्वेष्य बन्धुषु साधुष्वपि च पापेषु समबुद्धिर्विशिष्यते. He whose mind is equal in the case of the friend, companion, enemy, the indifferent one, the one who remains in the middle, the foe, the relative, the righteous, and also the sinful, he excels. So that is verse number 9. Though when the shloka is rendered, it is rendered in a way that usually other shlokas are rendered. This shloka actually begins with a very long and complex word. The entire first line of the shloka is one word, right? Even though when it is rendered, it is broken up into two parts. In fact, Adi Shankara starts his commentary of this verse by saying that the first one is a very long one and it is one complex word. So let me attempt reading it out as a one word. It goes, Suhrin Mitrarya Tasin Madhyastha Dveshya Bandhushu. Well, I think that was the other people would have been able to do justice to that, but that's one full word, that first sentence itself. Suhrin Mitrayar. Okay, I think let's not go into that. The way Brother Sham recited it for us, I think let's go with that. So this entire thing, this entire first line is one word and it contains in it different things. We will come to that shortly. As I was saying before I played that shloka, Krishna mentions a list of people towards whom this person who is in control of oneself has an equanimous approach or an equal vision towards. In the previous shloka he had said, Samaloshta Ashma Kanchanaha. He is same towards dust, stone or gold. Here Krishna speaks of one with a Samabuddhihi, a buddhi that remains the same. And he says, Samabuddhi Vishishyate, meaning the one who has such equal buddhi shines or stands out. What is this Samabuddhi and what are the different kinds of people Krishna mentions in the shloka? If you were to break up that long line that he starts the shloka with, it becomes Suhrid, a benefactor, Mitraha, a friend, Ari, an enemy, Udhasina, an indifferent one, or someone who is neutral, Madhyastha, an arbiter who is a well-wisher of two conflicting parties, Dveshyaha, the hateful, Bandhuhu, a relative, Sadhushu, the righteous one. And then he goes on to say, Apicha, and also Papeshu, in the unrighteous one. So in the previous shloka, Krishna mentions objects of different worldly value. In this shloka, Krishna mentions people of different types that we encounter, that we might encounter, like a friend, an enemy, a neutral person, an indifferent person, and so on and so forth, almost covering every kind of person that we may encounter in our general everyday life. This kind of equal vision Krishna has been speaking about right from the second chapter, right? In fact, earlier also, in the earlier chapter, I think there was a reference to having an equal vision towards a pious Brahmin, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, and all that. At that point, we had spoken about what happens in a jnani, right? I think I had made this specific reference at that point in time. Let us say I attain Brahmajnan. What happens when I attain Brahmajnan? Then I don't see myself as this body, right? And when I don't see myself as this body, mind, complex, and this personality, I will not see anybody as their body and their mind, right? Just like how I transcend the belief that I am this body, when I see you or when I see anybody, I see them as not being the body, but I see them as being the soul within, right? So it doesn't matter whether you're pious, whether you're this, or you're that, because I've reached a state where I don't see you as your form at all. And in that way, my vision becomes equal. We can probably say that here too. We can also say that samadrishti comes out of jnana, and we are not wrong, and I'm sure many commentators take that view to explain this. This kind of equal vision Krishna has been speaking about also, right? So it would not be wrong to conclude that. But as we often do, let us try to look at it from the context of the entire discourse that Krishna is giving to Arjuna. Krishna has been speaking of a state when one is a master of oneself, right? That's the immediate context. And also a jnana vijnana triptatma, which means one who draws satisfaction from what one has gained as knowledge, either vijnana, that has become spontaneous knowledge, or jnana, which is the knowledge that is based on one's faith. Now let us say, I want to lead a principled life. I want to lead a disciplined life. For that, I need a certain amount of self-control. I think that has been established. Without that, this kind of a disciplined life is not at all possible. And this disciplined life, or this a life of self-mastery, often gets tested by certain objects and certain kinds of people. Imagine you walk into a railway station or a metro station in any of these large cities. Even though it appears chaotic, especially if you come to any of our stations in India, it's going to look very chaotic. But even in that chaos, there is a certain order. There is a certain way people are entering the station. There is a certain gate through which they're all coming out. And there is a certain order in that chaos. Now imagine if someone were to walk into that crowd and say like they throw a few currency notes in the air. What would be the result of that act? It is then that you would actually really see what is chaos, right? The whole discipline there would just break down. People would be running helter-skelter to grab as much money as they can, right? Even in our life, when we say that we have to lead a life of self-discipline, there are different levels to that. One is to recognize the need for leading such a life. Sometimes people are just not motivated enough to lead a spiritual life, right? The question is, why bother at all? I mean, let's just go with it. I think many of us, we come across many people like that. They don't have enough motivation, or they don't feel like taking the trouble to lead a self-regulated, disciplined life because they don't see the value behind it. But many of us see the value, and because we see the value, we lead a disciplined life. But even amongst us, when tested, some of us lose the motivation to stick to those values or stick to those disciplines that we have set for ourselves. So when Krishna is here speaking about self-mastery or self-control, it is the ability to stick to discipline, overcoming all the demotivations and temptations that can come your way. This particular thing which I'm telling is very important, especially when Krishna starts speaking about meditation, right? And probably when I come to that in the next week or the week after that, I'll pull out a quote where Swami speaks about that very beautifully, where the different gunas play in this path. So I'll just repeat that again what I just mentioned. When we talk about a disciplined life, there are some people who do not want to lead a disciplined life because they don't find the value behind it. Some of us find value, but we find value and we stick to it only till we are tested, right? There are some temptations that come our way or some obstacles that come our way, and we don't find enough motivation to stick to it. When Krishna tells here, Samaloshta Ashma Kanchanaha, it is not literally treating stone and gold as one. There is certainly a relative value in everything, right? And that must be acknowledged. Even as we go through life, there is a certain value. If you give me food, there is some food that is edible, there is some food that is not edible, some food that is spoiled. Eating some food is going to spoil my body, right? I am not here to look at it as being equal. Similarly, when I'm giving, take it as the other way around. When I'm doing seva, when I'm offering food to somebody else, I cannot say that I am a samaloshta ashma kanchanaha. For me, good and bad, everything is same. So I'm going to give you a rotten apple, or I'm going to give you food that is stale. It doesn't work that way, right? We still have to acknowledge that some things are good, some things are bad, some things are better, some things are safer. All of this has to be kept in mind. That discrimination is very important. Right? As Swami would say, a slipper must be worn at the feet, worn on the feet. A cap must be worn on the head. There are different things that have to be used a different way. I don't become a yogi by mixing all of that up, right? Yes, in history, when we read about saints and sages, we definitely come across some yogis whose spiritual wisdom probably expressed in such a manner, right? We probably find somebody who did not have any problem lying down in a place which is filthy or accepting anything that was offered to them. I think that was an example that was needed to shock us out of our worldliness, right? But being a yogi is not leading a life like that. It cannot be merely equated to leading a life like that. I hope I'm making myself clear. When you see somebody like that who's extremely happy and self-satisfied, who has nothing with them, a sight like that makes you question your own life, makes you look at your own life and saying that why am I running after all this when somebody can be so happy without anything, right? So in a way it is meant to shake us out of our worldliness. But if we wish to be a yogi, it does not necessarily mean that we have to become like that. I should not wear anything, or I should wear dirty clothes and roam around with unkempt hair. That doesn't make me a yogi. A yogi requires a different kind of a mental makeup, and that's what we are speaking about. Our spiritual wisdom and our absolute union with God may express itself in that way. If that is, then I'm not here to comment about that. So the buddhi or the intellect must be used effectively, right? And for that, discrimination between objects and situations and people are important. So when Krishna says here you should have an equal vision towards sand and gold and people who are good and bad, it doesn't mean that. That's why I'm saying that it doesn't refer to the samadrishti that Krishna spoke about in the previous chapter. Let me try to explain what I feel is the samatvam that Krishna is explaining here, as I said, based on the context. Let us not forget that this entire discourse is a discourse on dharma. Fundamentally, that's what it is. It's a discourse on dharma. Krishna is trying to make Arjuna follow his dharma. The best way to perform one's duty is to do it as a karma yoga, right? That's the extension of the discourse. Or that's Krishna is telling Arjuna you should do your karma, and the better way of doing your karma is to do it as a karma yogi. And that's the flow of the discourse that we've been following. And for that, for the ability to do all your karma as yoga, you need mastery over your body and the senses. And that's the point we're discussing here. What makes a person lose control and take to an immoral path or take to a path of adharma? Isn't it something that tempts you? Isn't it something that suddenly catches your attention and says that, I'm not able to resist it, I'm not able to stick to my moral path? Let's say a government officer who probably is otherwise very diligent in his work, when somebody offers him some money in the form of a bribe or some objects in the form of a bribe, he's tempted into an immoral way, isn't it? Probably otherwise he's a very sincere and very diligent officer. So when Krishna says, treat all objects as equal, in this context, I would say he is referring to this attitude of not letting greed disrupt one's dharma. I hope I'm making myself clear. I am here trying to follow a dharmic path. I have self-control over myself. I control my desires. I control my body and mind and senses, whatever we've been speaking about. But I also have this idea that this is gold, this is money, this is valuable, and this can buy me luxuries, this can buy me more comfort. And when such objects come in front of me, I begin to lose control, right? So for me to have control over myself to do my dharma, to a certain extent, when I am doing my dharma, I see these objects as being equal, right? I think that is the samadrishti that Krishna is speaking about here. And very similarly, when I am trying to perform my duty, the person who is in front of me sometimes decides the nature of my actions, isn't it? If it is a friend, I behave in a certain manner. If it is a person that I don't know, I behave in a certain manner. I always give this example, let's say I might have mentioned this before too. Say I am in the bank and the cashier there happens to give me more money by mistake. I think most of us will go back and say, excuse me, madam, or excuse me, sir, you've given me more money than you should have given me, and we'll return it, right? That's a basic moral system that we all follow. Let us say that this person behind the counter has been very, very nasty to me, right? He has been very rude or he has been very disrespectful, and then he gives me extra change. I think for a minute, this thought might come that, he or she deserves it. Why should I go and, why should I be good to a person who is not good to me? Or even worse, if that person has been shouting at an elderly person and you've been seeing this scene, you will be, your response to that situation will be slightly conditioned by the nature of the person who's sitting in front of you, right? Or say if I'm a teacher, it is very easy to be very loving and kind to a student who's very well behaved. If the student is rude, if the student is insincere, automatically the way I dispense my karma as a teacher also changes, isn't it? I mean, that's a natural thing. It happens with most of us, right? And I'm sure some of you might be saying that, it doesn't happen with me. I'm always equal to everyone. There will be situations where it happens, right? We all try to be equal with everyone, but there will be some situation where we all lose it. Or let us say I am a judge and before me is a person who is very dear to me, then I find it very difficult to be unemotional and punish that person as he or she deserves. And in fact, that is why I am referring to the context. Isn't that what Arjuna is also going through? The moment he saw his grandfather and guru in the opposition, he is becoming weak and he is not able to dispense his dharma. And what is worse is, he has also misunderstood his weakness as a form of compassion and kindness. He is mistaking his weakness to be a virtue, right? And I think that is why here, in this context, when Krishna says, whatever be in front of you, stone or gold, meaning whatever may be the reward, whoever may be the person before you, may be a friend, an enemy, a relative, a stranger, and so on and so forth, you must not stray away from your dharma. That is the side of a person that is the nature of a person with sama buddhi. And such a person, Krishna says, vishishyate, shines, right? So that is why this context I thought is very important to remember. And this particular shloka and the previous one, I think Krishna is referring to samadrishti with reference to this self-control or self-mastery. The next few shlokas are going to be the real dhyana yoga part and of this chapter. And before we get into that, let me make a few remarks before going to the next shloka. As we've mentioned many times before, the 6th chapter is referred to as Dhyana Yoga, but also it is referred to as, and more appropriately as, Atma Samyama Yoga. Literally translated, it means the yoga of controlling the Atma. And which Swami says it's completely meaningless because the Atma cannot be controlled and there is nobody greater than the Atma to control the Atma. So it is the art of controlling. Atma here refers to oneself, controlling one's own mind. And I had said this in the introduction to the topic itself. The meditation that Krishna is speaking about must be seen as a technique to bolster the practice of Karma Yoga. As we go through the verses that are going to follow, we might find some of what is being said very difficult to follow given our lifestyle now, given how the way we are living in cities or with our busy schedule, right? As we go through these shlokas, wherever possible, I will try to share the interpretations based on what Swami has said. Some of these have to be the layer of meaning has to be seen, what is beyond the obvious, right? So using Swami's words, we'll try to do that. But it is also important to remember that this entire discourse has been given in a different era, right? And in that time, it was not very uncommon for people to go away into the forest, uncommon for people to take up some form of tapas and to achieve some blessing from one of the deities or to receive some boon or something. In fact, Arjuna himself has done such a tapas before he came to the war, right? He received so many weapons and great missiles to take part in the war. So we are talking about a time when it was not uncommon for somebody to take up such austerities and take up some tapas like this. So some of what Krishna says literally may not apply to us in the present world and in our present context, but much of what he says is actually beyond time, and it doesn't fade with time. So we'll keep that in mind. Even as we go through that, let's not say that, I'm not able to follow this. Krishna is saying this, that you should wear clothes like this, or you should be having a place like this to meditate. Let's not get too fixated with that. Let's go with the essence. And as I said, the background that we have to keep in mind is here dhyana or meditation is being spoken of as a technique that is useful for somebody who's trying to follow the path of Karma Yoga. So with that short prelude, we'll go to the next shloka. I think we'll have enough time only for shloka number 10. We'll listen to that and we will discuss about that in the remaining time that we have.
Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sthitaha ekaki yata chittatma nirashira parigraha.
Let the yogi try constantly to keep the mind steady, remaining in solitude, alone with the mind and the body controlled and free from hope and covetousness. So that is the 10th shloka of the 6th chapter. So in a way, this is a preparatory shloka, and it is very easy to look at this in a very general way, as I said, as something that is applicable even to us. This shloka does not present the problem that I mentioned before I played it. Many scholars who have given their views and commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita make a mention of how this portion of the Gita is very similar to Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, right, where he speaks about meditation, the Ashtanga Yoga, which we often speak about. Many of the words that are used here, many of the descriptions that Krishna gives here can be found even in that Yoga Sutra given by sage Patanjali. But here it is still part of Karma Yoga. It is part of the instruction where Krishna is teaching a means to yoga by continuing to do whatever is the duty that we are supposed to do and still manage to progress towards the goal, right? That is the context in which it is being offered. But when you speak about meditation, I think some of the rules overlap, right? Some of the things that you do when you take up to the path of meditation, like what Patanjali speaks about, or when you use meditation as a tool, there might be certain overlaps in the technique itself. For example, let's say an athlete, the way an athlete does exercises to prepare one's body for a sporting event, right? You might be doing the same exercises. I might be doing the same, push-ups or pull-ups or squats or whatever it is. I might be doing it just to maintain my general everyday fitness, right? So though there may be a difference in the intensity and even in the approach to the exercise itself between how an athlete does it and how a regular person like you and me do it, there will still be certain similarities with regards to the technique, how it has to be done, right? That will be similar. So in a similar way, when you speak about meditation for a tapasvi who wants to dedicate one's life for meditation and such kind of austerities, and someone like you and me who wants to do 10 minutes of meditation every day, there will be a little overlap of the technique, and that's what we are going to be seeing in the next few shlokas. What Krishna speaks about is going to be very similar to what Patanjali spoke about in his Yoga Sutra, right? But if we look at this shloka from that perspective, I had mentioned this in the beginning of the chapter, why the Karma Yogi needs meditation. The Karma Yogi's thinking has to be different from that of a worldly person. The rewards that he or she seeks, the satisfaction that one looks for in the life, these are all supposed to be different from that of a worldly person. But being in the world, it cannot be helped that the mind gets pulled by the ways of the world, right? If you're going into the corporate office, let's say you're having a sales job, you will have to look at numbers, you'll have to look at, how many people am I able to sell my product to? And you could still be a Karma Yogi. Nowhere it has been said that, look, if you're into sales, you cannot be a Karma Yogi, right? But the same mind that you use for something as worldly as that, or something like, let's say you're into marketing, all the time speaking highly about the product that you have to use the same mind as a Karma Yogi, right? So you need a technique by which you are able to every now and then disengage from the world, and you're able to realign yourself to the goals that you set for yourself, right? So that is the context, or that is the backdrop with which Krishna is trying to explain these things. So let us look at this shloka again from that perspective. Krishna says, the yogi yunjita satatamatmanam. Here atmanam refers to the mind. Yunjita means the mind must focus. Focus on what? It must focus on the goal, focus on the purpose. Yogi yunjita satatamatmanam. The yogi must focus the mind on the goal regularly. The word satatam actually means always, right? Satatam yoginam, yoginaha, or something like that comes much later in one of the chapters, and Swami would often quote that. It means one should always be a yogi. So satatam means constantly or at all times. But it can also be used with the meaning regularly or habitually. So we can take this as Krishna saying a Karma Yogi must regularly or every now and then take time to focus the mind on the goal or the purpose behind one's actions. And then Krishna goes on to give a few conditions in the shloka and few more specific ones in the next few. In this particular one he says, Rahasi stitaha. This act of focusing or meditating must be done in Rahasi stitaha, by sitting in a secret place. Rahasi means secret, but can also be interpreted as in solitude. This has a inner significance also, because in the very next line Krishna says ekaki or alone. So Rahasi does not merely mean solitude, it means something little more than that, because again ekaki means to sit alone. It's again a reference to solitude. It is not merely about going to a place where no one else can come, say some cave, or in the modern life that we're leading, it's not like some secret closet hidden away in our attic where we can go and sit and do our meditation. I feel the reference is to a place where you are to yourself physically and mentally, where what happens is actually a secret. When we speak about meditation, I think there's always this temptation or this tendency to want to share the experience that we have during meditation with others. When I close my eyes and I sit, no one is there to witness to what happens within me when I am doing that meditation. It is not like the other sadhanas that we do, let's say Veda chanting or bhajan singing or even the sadhana of seva. there are people to witness that. There are people to see that, oh, this person is doing this sadhana and this person has this, if you're meditating in public, probably there'll be a glow on your face and people will be able to see it. But the internal experience, that's why Krishna says ekaki, and he also says rahasi stataha, a place where you are alone and where it is secretive, right? So I think this is a sadhana it's a secretive sadhana, so to say, and it is best when it is maintained that way. Keep this time spent secretive, and more importantly, when there is nobody to witness what is happening in the sadhana, it is very important to be very honest and to have integrity towards oneself in this process. It's a time for us to, in a very genuine manner, look at our own thoughts, honestly look at our own failings, and observe very, very honestly the emotions that go through our mind at that point in time, or even through the day in general. We don't have to go around telling everyone that, this is what I thought in my meditation today. I sat and closed my eyes and, I got this beautiful thought. I think that is why Krishna is specifically saying, keep it secretive. I know when I, speak of meditation, some of you might be thinking that probably this is not meditation. You're telling focus on your process, focus on your purpose, focus on the goal. Because meditation is always, you think of a form, you think of a mantra, right? But what I'm trying to do here is I'm just going with the idea. For those of you who listened to the other program, the afternoon Satsang, last week and this morning too, we were speaking about the Jyoti meditation technique that Swami has been so beautifully talking about. There Swami clearly explains the idea behind imagining the flame being in the heart, the light illumining the limbs, of seeing the same light in everyone. And Swami was saying that the idea is what is important, the concept is what is important, right? So this is a process that is meant to remind us that we are divine, everyone is also divine, whatever actions and thoughts and words that come should come from that state of divinity and purity. And that is why I'm speaking of the period of meditation as a time where we focus on the goals that we are trying to reach, or the purpose behind we are doing that. And it could still be the Jyoti meditation that Swami speaks about, right? But in the process, what happens is that we are realigning ourselves. We are realigning ourselves to that purpose and goal that we have set for ourselves, right? So there's a beautiful discourse on this particular topic of Atma Samyama Yoga that Swami gave way back in 1979 as part of the summer showers. Those interested can go and read that particular discourse. I think it is titled Dhyana Yoga, but Swami speaks about the 6th chapter as the Atma Samyama Yoga. And there Swami says this, and I'll quote, Swami says, we should perform dhyana in an unostentatious manner, unobserved by others. Fish are sold in heaps at the fish market, but diamonds are carefully preserved at the jeweler's shop and displayed only to worthy customers. Likewise, if we sit for meditation at all places indiscriminately, inviting public attention, we would be reducing dhyana to cheap exhibitionism. So Krishna told Arjuna that one should be alone while meditating. End of quote. Very, very beautifully Swami explains that thing, that dhyana is a very personal time that you keep aside for yourself and keep it as secretive. And Swami, of course, goes on to say later, and I'll be quoting from this discourse very often, a lot of beautiful points in that discourse, and we'll be going through that as we go through the Dhyana Yoga section of Bhagavad Gita too, right? So this process of going within, cutting off from the external world, must be done satatam, which means regularly, rahasi stitaha, in secretive solitude, ekaki, sitting alone. There are no friends or companions in yoga, right? There can be collective prayer. We just had a collective prayer before I started my program. But in meditation, you are alone. You could probably sit with others, right? You could be in a meditation session where others are there. But true meditation, when you close your eyes, the whole purpose is to cut off from the world, right? For those few minutes. And then Krishna adds a few more points. He says, Yata Chittatma, one with the mind and the body controlled, Nirashihi, free from expectations, Aparigraha, non-covetousness. Yata Chittatma, this is a word that we have already come across and will be coming across multiple times in this chapter. Yati is one who has control, who is a master. Yata Chittatma is one who has restrained body and mind. And there may be a specific reason why the word chitta is used here for the mind instead of the words manas or the many other words which are there for the mind. Buddhi is also a word which could have been used. Why Yata Chittatma? When you sit restraining the body, you keep your hands to yourself, you keep your legs to yourself, you close your eyes. As Krishna had explained in the previous chapter, you keep your ears occupied by making them concentrate on the breath. So you cut off all external inputs to the mind. Now the only trouble that can come to you is from what has already been taken in, from the memories that are stored in the mind. And that aspect of the mind is often referred to as chitta. So those thoughts that arise from the chitta must now be controlled to a certain extent. That is probably why Krishna uses the term Yata Chittatma. Then he says, Nirashihi aparigraha. When sitting for meditation, sit without having expectations. The whole idea of meditation is to deal with these desires and expectations that keep distracting the karma yogi, right? So it beats the purpose if I'm going to do meditation and do it with a mind filled with expectations. So Krishna says, let go of all desires and ambitions. Don't sit for meditation and say, today my target is I have to meditate for 20 minutes. Or today when I get up from meditation, my skin should be glowing, right? Or thoughts like, I have been meditating for so many months now. Oh, I should have some exquisite experience now when I sit for meditation. That period of meditation, at least, can we be just in that moment without any desires, without any expectations. So one has to clear the mind of any such expectations, attachments, desires and such. And that is what is Nirashihi aparigraha. Because aparigraha is one of the qualities that Patanjali mentions in the very first leg of the Ashtanga Yoga, Yama, right? Yama has there are 5 yamas, and the 5th yama in that is aparigraha. Aparigraha in meditation essentially means you don't covet anything, right? And this Swami says is one of the qualities we must develop even in general life, right? In meditation, it is not craving for any experience or achievement, and you do the sadhana without any such expectations. And Swami would say sadhana is best performed if it is done to sanctify just that moment. You don't anticipate or expect anything out of the sadhana that you perform, and that is the best way to perform sadhana. Aparigraha as a general attitude in life is also very important, but maybe we'll keep that for a different day, in a different context, we can speak about that. But here aparigraha and nirashihi means to take up that act of meditation without having any desires and expectations. And with that, I've really run out of time, dear listeners. We'll conclude with that. We'll continue this Atma Samyama Yoga. It's very, very important, very interesting. Some things which Krishna says, I don't know how much I can explain, but it's very interesting to go through. We'll continue this next week. Thank you for joining me. Do join me again next week for the resumption of this triune pilgrimage of the Gita series. Till I meet you all next week, do take care, keep safe. Jai Sai Ram.
ॐ जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्त जना संरक्षक पति महेश्वरा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे शशि मगना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका जगन्नाथ नागेन्द्राश्रयणा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।
ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। 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 ॐ